Hey everybody, Cahlen here, and I am on my third day out here exploring the Jemez Mountains. Yesterday I had to change directions and went a different direction than I was planning to go because I needed to get some water. And I did find a stream and I camped overnight at the stream. And this morning I climbed up to the top of these rocks up here, you can see up there above me, to get some naked time in the sun, which is a morning ritual of mine and something I highly recommend doing. So anyways, today I'm going to be exploring the area that I camped in because yesterday I found some traces of humans and I think there's probably more. So I'm going to be showing you what I found yesterday, and then I'm going to go out looking for other new discoveries. Here's where I slept last night, and it's just on a little hill a little bit above this creek, which is coming up or coming down from snowmelt up at the top of this super volcano I'm on. Now about 50 feet down from my camp, there's this little trail from down at the creek which comes up, and it stops at these stacked rocks. So it definitely looks like these were put here on purpose. And there's a little space in here, maybe enough for someone to lie down if you cleared it out. So it seems pretty protected, and they probably put branches or something over the top of it. Maybe they were just storing something here. And about 20 feet from that spot is this old tire. Now it looks like it has been out here a very long time. The rubber is extremely hard and cracked, and I've never seen the markings. Let's see. It says General something by 6. I mean, I would guess at least a couple decades. I'm not really an expert on tire decay though. So the road that I came into this place on is actually, it looks like it used to be a road that cars or trucks were driving on because it was fairly wide and substantial. And it's actually on the opposite side of the river from where I am now. And so while I was exploring this place, I thought, well, I'll just go along the river, and because that's where most human activity is going to be. And I found that on the opposite side of the river from the main road is this little smaller road, which looks like it was used by people on foot or on horse or maybe on like a motorbike or something like that. So I'm just going to keep exploring this road and see what I find along it. So the road goes on that way, and maybe you noticed that there's some fencing here, barbed wire that goes up that way, and then there's actually a paddock here. So it looks like they load animals in. They maybe pull a truck up with animals in it and they go in there, and that puts them in the paddock. And they used these two trees as basically gate posts where the animals would come in. It's kind of an decline down into the pen, and that thing comes off there. You can see how deep the barbed wire is into the tree to give a sense for how long it might have been here. And they reinforced it at one point anyway with all these wooden things. So based on the size of this paddock, I would guess they weren't keeping cows or anything that big in here, but it could have been something like sheep or goats or maybe even pigs. It's interesting. It makes me wonder what else was going on up here, if they wanted to be able to keep animals that we're using for some purpose enclosed, and you know, maybe just to keep them from running away, but also to keep them protected from animals like bears or mountain lions. So yeah, there's probably something else nearby here, so I'm just going to keep looking around. So I came across this thing. See what it is. So it's looks like a wagon cart wheel, and then nearby is this thing. I'm not quite sure what this is. And then there's all these sticks here. You can see they look like they're all cut at the ends with a saw and laid here for some purpose. I'd say about 50 feet from the wagon wheel is this long piece of metal. Another fairly long piece of metal. Something that looks like what goes over the wheel on a car, or perhaps a wagon. So it seems like someone was definitely driving up and down this road, either in an old car that had wooden spokes on its wheels, or was actually a wagon hauled by animals of some kind. So makes me wonder, what were they hauling? They must have been getting something here in these mountains which they needed to bring down in town for trade. So I'm going to basically try and figure out what that was all about. So I've come to a point in the road where the rock changes from this reddish kind suddenly to much lighter colors, and it makes me think maybe they were mining pumice or chalk or something like that here. You can see the stuff is pretty flaky and breaks really easy. So the road comes along and crosses this big divot in the ground where there's all these large rocks which are kind of strewn up along the side in a trench, which then goes uphill. Now I've seen a lot of these type of things along this path that I'm walking. This is the biggest one I've seen, and I kind of was making the assumption it's just water that did this, but with such giant rocks strewn to each side, it seemed like it'd either have to be machines or dynamite. And so if it was dynamite, it seems like that there's something just barely below the surface of the ground here, which they're putting dynamite in and blasting it out and then just hauling it away. Or there's something up that hill which they were trying to make a path basically up to. So I'm a ways up exploring that trench. You can see I came from way down there and the trench continues. It's pretty deep. Continues a ways more up there, so I'm gonna go a little bit further and see if I can find anything. So the higher I get up, the more and more I think this was a pumice mine. This feels very much like pumice, but another interesting thing about this rock is that it's got tiny little crystals in it all over the place. So every single one of these I find, I can look inside and there's these little crystal things. And this whole mountain range seems to have this type of thing inside of their sedimentary rock, which I believe is just all ash. So the question I'm asking, why are all these crystals in layers of old ash, which is what I assume this is. And so I would be interested to know if anyone knows what these crystals are. They're small, some of them are a little bit bigger, and when you see them in a body of water, like in the bottom of a creek or something like that, they shine bright blue. So out here they just kind of look clear, but when they're in water they look blue. So if you got any ideas about that, please let me know. So I've pretty much reached as far as it seems like they went on this path anyway. And there's this area here which looks like someone dug into or just is really susceptible to erosion. Look at this. It's just pure ash. This is like pretty fresh from a volcano still. Well, I think I'm about probably 3/4 of the way up this mesa here, which is pretty high up. So whatever these people were extracting here must have been pretty valuable, because if I had to, I don't know, I wouldn't want to climb up this way every single morning unless it was definitely worth it. So anyways, I'm gonna head back down and have some dinner. So speaking of food, look at this beautiful cactus flowering in the spring. And a little later in the year, there's going to be some edible fruit there, I believe. Well, I had some dinner and then I hiked a little ways up the mountain, because at this spot I can get cell service, because sometimes even when you're living in the wilderness, you want to watch a little YouTube, so I'm sure you all can understand. Anyways, that's it for today, and we'll see what comes of tomorrow. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.